I always tend to spread these videos out too far apart, which means that I have a ton of books to wrap up. So yeah, let's just get into it. Also, I'm pretty sure that I've mentioned some of these in my previous reading vlogs. I will link them down below just in case you want to check out my initial thoughts. I'm also pretty sure that I did more of a discussion in those reading vlogs on these books, because this is just going to be me wrapping it up, trying to be concise because I have a ton of books. Starting off, I thought I'd mention the books that I DNF. The first one is The Start of Me and You by Emery Lord. It's about a girl who has been grieving the loss of her boyfriend from the past year, and it's about her trying to like rediscover herself again. I just felt like it was overly descriptive. I couldn't get with the writing style, which leads me to the second book that I DNF, The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson. I've heard a ton of things about Morgan Matson. Everyone seems to love her. Everyone on YouTube, everyone who loves contemporaries loves her. So I thought, since I love contemporaries, that I would love her. I didn't. I couldn't get with the writing style. I'm not sure if it's the underwriter in me, but I felt like her books are super overwritten, and there's a lot of unnecessary detail that I felt like could have been edited out. I'm not into overly descriptive contemporary stories. So yeah, the first book that I want to talk about is Eleanor, Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. This is an adult general fiction, I guess, literary fiction, whatever, and it follows this character named Eleanor Oliphant, and at the start of the novel she has this whole routine for her life. She has a 9-to-5 job, and every Wednesday she talks to her mother, and on Friday she treats herself by getting a bottle of wine, 2 bottles of vodka, and a margarita pizza, and she basically drinks the whole weekend away, and then she goes back to work and she functions normally until one day she is forced to socialize with people. It's her trying to like interact with the world again, and through that you find out a lot of history with her childhood and all that stuff. This book deals with topics of loneliness, depression, and trauma. I think I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book that I picked up was The Fill-In Boyfriend by Casey West. This is a contemporary romance, and it follows this girl named Gia who gets dumped right outside her school dance right before she walks in. And the thing is, she's been talking about this boyfriend of hers to her friends for a really long time, but they don't believe her because they haven't seen him around. And so while she's at the parking lot, she spots a guy sitting in his car, and he pretends to be her boyfriend, and the romance goes on from there. This follows a fake relationship. I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I picked up was Shatter Me by Tahera Murphy. This is a dystopian. It follows this girl named Juliet whose touch is lethal to everyone around her. Unfortunately, I didn't really like the story all too much. I didn't like any of the characters well enough to continue on. I did really like the writing style, and I do want to check out Tahera Murphy's other works, so I gave that book a 2.5 or 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Moving on, I read Crimson Bound by Rosamund Hodge. As you all know, I loved Cruel Beauty by Rosamund Hodge, so I picked this up because I knew that it was a Red Riding Hood retelling. This follows a soldier to the king, I forgot her name, but she is tasked to defend and protect the prince. If you're super into high fantasy with a lot of world building, actually if you didn't like Cruel Beauty because of its lack of world building, you'll probably love this one, because this is very reminiscent of kind of like Arthurian, is that the right term, fantasy. Like it's got kingdoms and knights and like political intrigue and a lot of world building. So yeah, if you're into that, you'll absolutely love this one. I'm not into that, so I didn't really like it, but I do still really love her writing style. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. There's a lot of 3 out of 5 stars recently. The next book I picked up on audio was Secrets for the Mad by Dodie Clark. Dodie, if you didn't know, is a musician slash YouTuber. I really love her channel. I've been following her for a really long time. I love the way she talks about things, and I was kind of in this weird headspace when I read this book, so I really enjoyed it, especially on audio because she narrates it herself. It's just about her life. A lot of the stories though I find I've already heard about from her YouTube channel. This is just her rehashing it and adding a little bit more detail. But if you do pick up the audiobook, she does do a lot of her songs and her singing in between the chapters, which I thought was really cool. I think I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars as well. Moving on, I read A House at the Bottom of a Lake by Josh Malerman. This is a contemporary horror thriller mystery, I guess. I'm not sure what to categorize it. It follows these two teenagers who go on their first date, and they go to have a picnic at this lake, and they discover a house at the bottom of a lake, and they kind of go exploring, and the whole story is about what happens when they go exploring and all that stuff. It's super interesting. I love the way he creates suspense and creates the atmosphere, because I have this thing where I'm like super kind of creeped out by lakes, so that was really cool to kind of read about. I also just love the slight metaphor of this house. It's one of those books that I think I ended it and I wanted to discuss it with people, because I think you can interpret it in several ways, and that's one of the things I love about this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. No Matter the Wreckage by Sarah Kay. This is a poetry collection. Sarah Kay is one of my favorite spoken word poets alongside Rudy Francisco. But I was actually super disappointed with this collection. I think her poetry, I like it more when it's actually spoken. Next, I read another Casey West book, The Distance Between Us. I'm pretty sure this is the first contemporary romance that she ever wrote. This follows our main character, Cayman, who owns this doll store with her mother, and one day this guy comes into her store and the romance kind of goes from there. I really like this one. I thought I wasn't going to like it because this follows the trope of rich boy, poor girl. Is that a trope? I'm pretty sure it's a trope, but I absolutely loved it. It's so cute. It's not my favorite Casey West. My favorite is still P.S. I Like You, but I think I really like this main character a lot. I think she's one of my favorite out of all the other books that I read by her. 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. And last but not least, I have 2 5-star reads that I absolutely love and I want to share it with everyone. The first one is Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone. This is a contemporary mental health kind of book. This follows our main character named Sam, who has OCD, but she hides it from everyone around her. The only people that know about it are her family, and she goes into the school year wanting to get out of her head more and to be more focused and to find new friends. This covers the topics of mental health, finding new friends, and realizing that your old friends are toxic, which are 3 topics that I absolutely love to read about. I also really like the fact that it has spoken word poetry within the mix, because our main character joins a poetry club. And yeah, it's really cool. If you're looking for a mental health book, I really suggest this one because it's a really good one. It's a lot more serious than the other mental health books that I've read in the past. Having said that, it does kind of have a little bit of a romance that kind of takes a little bit of a focus, especially in the middle. So that one I could have done without. Although I did like the romance, I just wanted to know more about our main character. And the last book that I've read recently was The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. This is the most beautiful book that I've ever read, inside and out. Honestly, I love the cover, first of all, the spine, but also the writing style and the story. This is a generational story, and it follows 3 generations of women in the Lavender family. It's a character-driven story. If you've been on my channel for a while, you know that I love stories that have a melancholy, bittersweet kind of vibe to them, and this was the perfect book for me. First of all, it's magic realism. I'm not sure if I've read a magic realism book in the past, but I really enjoy it. This book focuses around the theme of love of all kinds, whether it be familial, platonic, romantic, unrequited. It also deals with the topic of loss and grief and loneliness, and I just absolutely love this book. I did a more coherent written book review. If you want to check it out, it's spoiler free. I will leave the link to it down below, but 5 out of 5 stars. I just highlighted so many things in this book because I love it so much. Anyway, those are the books that I've read recently. I promise I won't leave these kinds of videos for too long because I don't want to have to wrap up a ton of books. Also, I'm thinking of changing it up and kind of grouping my recent reads into like sections or genres when I like, because at the moment I'm reading a lot of horror books, so I want to like group those together, that kind of thing. Let me know if you're interested in seeing that. I hope you're having a great day and I will see you soon.